government to get there. Governments who don't always say a word that they're found for come here to get either one. One subject.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up,
T-minus 1 minute.
live out the true meaning of its creed.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
T-minus 50 seconds.
I am paying for this microphone, Mr.
Every dollar released from taxation
T-minus 40 seconds.
that is spent or invested will help create a new job.
Chivalry is dead, and women killed it.
T-minus 30 seconds.
Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines.
T-minus 20 seconds.
We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing ground and in the streets.
10, 9,
We shall fight
8,
in the hills.
6,
We shall never surrender!
3, 2, 1, 0.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Problem Solver Politics live stream this beautiful Monday evening. Actually, I shouldn't say Monday evening. It's Monday afternoon, late afternoon here in Southern California. Evening for those of you that are listening on the East Coast.
5:10 p.m. It's the evening.
Okay, cool. That counts. Anyway, I am your host, Cardin Ellis, with Cody the Oracle.
Whoops. Hey, everybody.
And Cody has a burning topic that he would like to talk about. One, Monsieur Miguel Bloomberg.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was,
Michel Bloomberg.
I was trying to think of something to talk about today, because, you know, just, what's a fun thing to talk about? We have some time to hang out tonight. And this is what came into mind. Now, for me, this is what stands out to me. I'll never forget this. To this day, if you type in Meatball Mike into Google, pretty basic thing to type in, our Meatball Mike. Maybe, I gotta admit, this is not a in private mode search. Maybe it's something with Mike, but I mean, I don't know. This is what comes up.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite pictures ever. One of the best images of the campaign in 2020, I think, is this picture of Mike Bloomberg's face, superimposed into a meatball. It was part of a tweet where the campaign asked, "Can you spot the meatball that looks like Mike?" Now, first of all, duh, it's this one. I think it's just dumb, right? Like, it's like obviously it's one looks like Mike. But beyond that, why? Now, full context, they posted this. It was the last debate Michael Bloomberg would not qualify for. He'd be in the subsequent debates until they stopped having debates, and they basically, in some instances, like New York, literally canceled the primary because they're just like, forget it, Joe Biden wins, I guess.
Yeah.
So before that happened, and he was still running for president, this came out. Now, what we've learned over the course of the following months and as stuff has come out, it really, truly was about, I don't know why it's formatted like this, but I'll scroll by, $1 billion with a B that Michael Bloomberg spent not getting elected president. I hope I don't get this wrong. It was the U.S. Virgin Islands he won, right? U.S. Virgin Islands he won?
Yeah,
So
he won the
American
US
Samoa went to Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah, American Samoa went to Tulsi Gabbard.
I believe it was Virgin Islands he won. But yeah, or maybe it was it a no? I could have got it wrong. Either way, he did not get what you would normally spend $1 billion on. So I thought there's a Business Insider article here, a couple other articles I had pulled up. I just want to go a trip down memory lane from Mike Bloomberg. Now, before we get too far into this, do any of you guys remember this really sad, desperate, embarrassing thing he did where he started hitting up these vaguely pretty popular Instagrams, and then he was DMing them and then telling them to like post the DMs? It's a real exchange. I love this. Hello, Juice Boys. Can you put an original meme to make me look cool for the upcoming Democratic primary? I don't think so. TBH, your vibe is kind of off. I put Lamborghini doors on the Escalade. What? I'm sure many people were confused reading that. Michael Bloomberg's a 70-year-old man.
Yeah.
Worth what, like $30 billion, something like that. I don't know what the point of this was, but it was all part of Michael Bloomberg's gigantic $1 billion failed vanity project that is really, I think, oh my God, sorry guys. Hey, I got good news, guys. You can get locked in at 2.59 APR from LendingTree, but they don't want me to read the article. Let me reformat this for you guys, so we're not mercy to LendingTree's APR. So here we go. So Mike Bloomberg's failed presidential campaign cost him over $1 billion. Here are some things the billionaire spent money on. By the way, super upset. He had a campaign office opening in Los Angeles. Wish I would have went. It was just free food, free drinks, free hats, free shirts,
I'm looking at this.
free everything for anyone who showed up.
Why didn't we just get on the Michael Bloomberg social media train?
Well,
dude?
because I'll cut you off and tell you why.
Man, it was short.
It was short, it was short and depressing. That's why it was a very sad experience. We have an article.
No, but the money, baby, the money, man.
Tell you what,
it's a lot of pizza.
I'll tell you what the money looks like. So we'll get back to this Business Insider article. I believe this is the one I was looking for from the Los Angeles Times. I love this. This is a little anecdote they have here. They have the headline: "Please disregard, vote for Bernie. Inside Bloomberg's paid social media army." And I do believe this is the one they mentioned it. I hope so. Here we go. So, who's excited for the debate tonight? Another organizer posted on Instagram asking her followers to sign up for debate updates from Bloomberg's campaign. The post received 1 like and a comment. I hope you're at least getting paid for this, LOL. That was why and I don't like Michael Bloomberg. I liked Andrew Yang. I wanted him to win. A. B. Michael Bloomberg's the worst. And then C, it was just really sad and depressing. Everybody a part of this. That was my favorite anecdote right there. Someone who's excited for the debate tonight, and the only response is like, "Dude, I hope you're getting paid for this. This is pathetic." That's why. I guess another reason why you risk looking pathetic. I'm not saying people are pathetic for taking the money, because money it's one of those things. I think up front it feels like money for nothing.
Yeah.
And then very rarely is there money for nothing, and these people realize they're selling their soul to shill for Mikey Bloomberg, and nobody wants, nobody likes. And that was just part of what the $1 billion a shame Michael Bloomberg spent. But getting back to the Business Insider article, they have some good stuff they bring up here as well. So let's just get to the bullet points. So Mikey Bloomberg spent over $1 billion on his short-lived presidential campaign, or over $23 million. You know what's funny? $22 million per delegate. Oh, by the way, Bo Watson, $5 super chat. Maybe the reason he spent $1 billion was to squeeze out Yang and Tulsi. If they had party support, they would easily beat Trump in this atmosphere. A small part of what he was doing was shouldering out smaller. I think you can expand it beyond Yang and Tulsi. He was shouldering out he was getting to the point where he was just out. He was spending so much money, it was difficult for the Amy Klobuchars and the Pete Buttigieg's and anyone else to run ads, do anything, because he was buying up all the airtime. Another great, I was if we have time to get into that. He literally raised Houston airtime costs like 60-70%. Because people are like, oh, I mean, Michael Bloomberg just running ads all day, every day. Like, well, why should I take less money from you to run less ads than Bloomberg, who's running a bunch? He also spent a quarter of it flooding the country with ads. I don't even think I have to tell you guys, how many people here, especially if you lived in a Super Tuesday state, how many of you guys saw endless ads for Bloomberg?
Yeah.
Do you remember how bad it was? It was a Bloomberg ad every 10 seconds.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But get this. He also includes salaries nearly double. He paid salaries double those of campaigns. To another thing he did, he wasn't only buying up ad airtime, he was buying up all of the professional campaigners, buying all of them up with insane salaries. Free meals, free booze, iPhone 11s, and furnished apartments on Manhattan's each side. So he spent $1 billion in 7 months. He also gave his supporters free food, shirts, and buttons at rallies. However, with a net worth of close to $60 billion, it was just a rough year in the market for him, really. I mean, he could write it off as that, you know. Bad year of investments. It's insane that he's rich enough to chalk off $1 billion as a few bad quarters, but he probably can.
Yeah. Jeez, man. I'm looking through some of these comments, and I agree with a lot of it. You know, Bo Watson said, Bernie Tulsi Yang anti-establishment. I don't know about Bernie anymore. He started out that way, but he's such a Democrat operative
but
now.
Yeah, he'll give in.
There's twice he's sold out. He didn't step up for anybody that defended him or protected him. He didn't step up for any staffers. He never stuck his neck out for anybody that stuck their neck out for him. And ultimately, he sold out twice. So yeah, I believe Tulsi. She's got amazing street cred. Tulsi's got street cred. Yang's got street cred. Although even Yang he's kind of like just a talking head now, right?
Spaghetti. Bloomberg did have a Super Bowl ad. Both him and Trump were the only.
Yeah, they were competing. Remember, it was like, wasn't it Trump like his was 3 million less or 3 million more, but like one was 40 million and one was 43 million. Something absurd like that.
I think it was $10 million. I'll look it up. I think it was $10 million for the slot. For each of them, and then who knows how much they went in. I believe Bloomberg's was a gun control video, pro-gun control video or ad. Was that what he put together? It's that because that was like one of his only successes he had in New York, I guess, because he felt like he lowered gun violence. Because he was not a very popular mayor. I believe, isn't there that there's a skit in Chappelle's show where I think Dave Chappelle is like, "Damn you, Bloomberg!" Like speaking of Michael Bloomberg. Like, I mean that's all the Bloomberg stuff. But yeah, it's, by the way, isn't that hilarious to think about, guys? I mean, I'm going back and pulling up some of these articles talking about how Michael Bloomberg ran for president. I mean, here was another one. What's what I'm looking for right here? Yeah, digital edits. A paid army. Bloomberg is destroying norms on social media. This was February of this year, man. Like, think of how fast everything shifted in the last 3-4 months. I mean,
iTunes
think about like 10 lifetimes ago when Bloomberg ran, right?
iTunes said it really well. They said if you go look up the profile for Led Zeppelin in the iTunes library, whoever wrote the profile for iTunes said something really interesting. They said there are only 2 types of rock and roll: those before and those after Led Zeppelin.
Oh, please.
You know, hey, dude, it's true, whether you like it or not.
How is it true?
In my life, there's only 2 Americas: the kind before and after 9/11 in terms of security. And now, in terms of psychosis and insanity, it's before and after coronavirus.
I'm not like a big boomer rock guy, but like, is Led Zeppelin really like head and shoulders above like the Pink
rock
Floyds?
and roll changed.
But I'm saying like the Pink Floyds, the AC/DCs, the Who, the Rolling Stones, the Doors,
half of those bands,
like none of the Beatles, none of them mattered because they're not Led Zeppelin.
No,
really,
half of those bands that you mentioned were like
contemporaries.
Yeah,
they're like the only reason why I brought them, I'm not saying they're better or worse. I'm just saying, like, aren't they all like contemporaries who played together that are really famous?
Look, the Beatles are the only people that can compete.
And I could get maybe saying Beatles.
AC/DC was just after. They got popular much later.
Okay, but still, what
but
about
even they would tip their hat
what about the Doors and the Rolling Stones? Are they old?
The Doors, that was stoner music. I never got into the Doors.
Okay, sorry,
that was just for people that were getting high that wanted to hang out with their dads.
This is not a discussion about Led Zeppelin, by the way. I just thought it was fine because I don't know. I just feel like there's a bunch of old, what are they, just kind of like boomer rock bands that like were still big.
That's
right?
not boomer rock. That's American good rock.
Hold on, Led Zeppelin's American rock.
Okay, you tell me a rock. A rock band right now is better than Led Zeppelin.
What state in America is Led Zeppelin from?
Wait, Led Zeppelin was from Michigan.
Yeah, forgot. Led Zeppelin. Ooh. Robert Plant's from Michigan. That's a good. Look up where Michigan. Look up what side of the Atlantic Michigan's in.
Wait a second. No, they're English, I thought, right? Yeah, I was sorry. I was thinking AC/DC is Australian. Hold on, I'm gonna look this up.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, no doubt. I know Led Zeppelin's English. I'm sorry, I'm a retard. But let me see.
Well, no, maybe Michigan Leeds.
Leeds,
Michigan.
English rock band formed in London in 1968. The group consisted of vocalist Robert Plant, guitarist Jimmy Page. Yeah, because you go to a Page and Plant concert nowadays. There were progenitors of heavy metal.
And you know what's funny?
It doesn't say where they're from.
Another little aside. I believe they're from England or Scotland. They're from, I believe, the UK. I think they speak the Queen's English. But one thing I always thought was funny is, I used to think, I'm like, what are the odds so many like New Zealanders and Australians and people from like England and Ireland, what are the odds so many of them be famous actors in America?
By the way, I'm a bonehead. You know who I was thinking of in my mind? Who's the guy that does Cat Scratch Fever? He's from Detroit.
Are you talking about Ted Nugent?
Yeah, Ted Nugent.
I don't think anybody has ever said there's rock and roll music before Ted Nugent and after Ted Nugent.
I know. Well, I'm not saying that. No, he's the same, but I'm just saying in my head. I was thinking of Ted Nugent in his face because we've been talking about Jesse Ventura all day. And I'm telling you, Jesse Ventura looks just like Ted Nugent. Like, you have got to pull those two guys up. Yes. Oh, my gosh. Cody.
Not in any meaningful way. Maybe they have similar hairstyles and they wear goofy outfits, but no.
Look
they
at
don't
a picture.
Look a lot.
Oh, my gosh. Cody, look at this picture of Ted Nugent. Look at this picture of Ted Nugent. I am copying you in a picture of Ted Nugent, and I'm discording you this picture of Ted Nugent right now. Okay.
I know what they both look like.
And
they
we'll
don't
let
look
the
alike.
audience choose. Put up that picture of Ted Nugent, and then we're going to put up this picture of Jesse Ventura.
Tell you what, I'm going to find a picture of Ted Nugent. You've got to stop sending me thumbnails from the first picture you find on Google Images.
Okay. Here is, I mean, you can't tell these brothers apart. Like, you cannot tell these brothers apart. If they were walking down the street, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between Ted Nugent and what's his name, Jesse Ventura. Right now, I sent you two pictures.
Okay, so who's that?
So
is that Ted Nugent or Jesse Ventura? Can you tell which one?
That's
it is?
Ted Nugent.
Oh, really? How can you tell? It look the same.
Well, because now go to Jesse Ventura.
Give me 1 second.
Okay, so that's Ted Nugent, right? And then now we got Jesse Ventura.
Excuse me? In what world?
Oh, come on.
In what world?
What do you mean in what world? Here, pull up another picture where you can see his face. That was a crappy picture. Hold on, you're right. I sent you a crappy picture.
Not what this is about. We'll talk,
Yeah.
we can get back to that later. It's not about who looks like who.
All right. All right.
I just I forgot even how we got off in that sidetrack talking about Ted Nugent and just Ventura. Oh, sorry. The only thing to wrap up what I was saying before, I just think it's funny how we take for granted the fact that all these countries speak English, and that's a really big leg up. Before there was sound and film, when they used to have silent movies, there was a bunch of international stars from like Finland and Germany and England, or not England, and even countries that didn't speak English. Didn't matter because you weren't speaking on camera. So yes, speaking English means that even though you're an Australian, you live in Australia, you have a way better chance of being an American movie star than someone who lives in Mexico or French-speaking Canada, just because you probably speak fluent English because that's the only language they speak in your country. The primary language of Australia. Anyway, that was totally pointless. The kid did not fight off the monkey. He was saved. By the way, in that video with the monkey and the kid, I swear to God, it looks like the monkey's on like a leash, and it looks like somebody encourages the monkey to go towards the kid. I swear, if you watch that video, it's like there's a guy like motioning for the monkey to go forward, and then it looks like he's pulling the monkey on a leash when the monkey has the kid. That's what it looks like. I'm not saying that's what happened, but that's what it looks like. It's really weird.
Okay. Anastasia's dad one says, "You guys are awesome. Thanks for the content." Anastasia's dad, you are welcome. And also, actually, I know that YouTube names are just YouTube names, but are you indeed a father? And is your daughter's name Anastasia? If so, that's super cool. That's one of my favorite names. When me and Brittany were picking a name for our daughter, Anastasia was in my top 3. I like the V names: Veronica, Victoria, Valerie, Vanessa. The V names I always thought were cool. But also my wife dug Anastasia, and I dug Anastasia too. And I thought it had a rich history in cinema and literature. And so I was like, all right, I dig Anastasia.
Like the Disney movie?
Well, believe it or not, before the Disney movie, it was based off of a great Russian novel, thank you.
Well,
that existed before Walt Disney.
But once again, guess what Americans talk about? The English-speaking cartoon, not the Russian novel. It's just,
all right.
That's how it goes, man. That's how it goes. People, it's someone brought it up, and it's really funny. It's an interesting phenomenon that's kind of true, is the idea that you'll notice in general, if you are somewhere where you don't hear people speaking your native language and someone does speak your native language, you will immediately be like, you were living in a country where people spoke Spanish primarily. When you found other native English speakers, did it not feel nice?
Yeah, it was kind of cool.
It's everywhere. Same thing with people in America who speak Spanish, and they find other people in America who speak Spanish, like, oh, good, we both speak Spanish. This is nice. I can speak with you in my native language. It's a real thing. I don't know. Anyway, got bad news from Michael Bloomberg. Nobody. I think, you know what? That's a great way to tie into what I was trying to talk about. Because, look, Bloomberg was overpaying the top consultants, right? But I think Bloomberg's campaign's a great example. And if you're not relatable and you're not likable and people don't trust you, you cannot win. Even if you burn $1 billion in 4 months, you get nowhere. You have to be one. People have to either like you, trust you, or believe in you. Hopefully all three. That's how you win generally. But you can't have none. No one believed in Bloomberg. No one trusted Bloomberg. And that sunk him, man. Like, why would anyone vote? Even though he was paying the best people above market rates to steal them from other campaigns, and he won American Samoa, and it cost him $20 million a delegate. Actually, I like that stat, $20 million a delegate, or however they said, because one thing it reminds me of, what was it? 23 million per delegate. They'll do this a lot in sports. At the end of a sports season, they'll take a team, and they'll basically just take the amount of money they paid their players that year, and the amount of wins they got, and they'll say, how much money per win did this team pay for? And you'll notice there'll always be teams that are underpaying their team and get a lot of wins. Michael Bloomberg is like the complete opposite. Michael Bloomberg is like the football team that pays $55 million a win. You know what I mean? Because they have 3 wins. I mean, like Michael Bloomberg's $23 million per delegate out of his $1 billion is insane. And it shows that you got some delegates, right? But it also, the money it doesn't take you that far. And I know this channel is sports analogies, but seriously, you'll see the same thing happen in sports. You'll see a team that's overpaid like hell. They got a lot of big names.
Like the Yankees?
They're overpaying. Well, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. But sometimes you see teams that are just bad, like Bloomberg.
Yeah.
Dude, teams don't, trust me, sports teams will overpay a player so other teams can't have him. They will do that.
Yeah.
They will do everything Michael Bloomberg did to try to steal the selection with money. And I think it's funny. At the end of the day, when the competition starts, you see that sometimes you spend $23 million a delegate. Dude, Joe Biden probably couldn't tell you how he fundraised his last $100 million. You know what I mean? He doesn't know where his money's. Like, Joe Biden is not a big fundraiser. He never has been. I believe Joe Biden's weak fundraising abilities, like I think people talk about for years with him, and it's never been something he's good at. He's raised a bunch of money. It doesn't matter. He wins. Now, it is a little bit goofy what's going on with Joe Biden. I love how New York State, though, basically said what the rest of the Democratic Party was thinking. And they're like, why don't we just cancel the primary? Joe Biden won. I can think about it. Because now that we've talked about Bloomberg blowing his billion, right? He lost to Biden. Biden hasn't won anything yet. But the way the language is, the way people are talking about this primary, people are talking about this primary like it's over. Like Biden won. That's the only reason why I'll kind of defend a little bit what the New York State did. And not defend, that's the wrong word. But I hear what they're saying is what I mean. Because what they're basically saying is, you guys keep telling us this election's over. Everybody running is telling their supporters, except I will say Andrew Yang's holding out more than others, but they're all saying, vote for Biden, Biden's the way, go for Biden, Biden. And then they're kind of saying, like, so why are you insisting we have an election? I get Bernie's perspective and Yang's perspective. People still should have a right to vote, a right to choose, a right to have their voice heard more than a right to choose, right? But a right to say, I want this person to be president. I don't care if they're going to win or not. That's what I want to vote for. People have that right.
Yeah.
However, I do also agree the state of New York's kind of like, well, maybe everybody who's running shouldn't have suspended their campaign to endorse Biden then. Right? Like, why don't you just keep... I get both arguments. I just think it's interesting. I think it's one of the reasons why having the rhetoric of everybody already suspended to endorse Biden, it's over anyway, why bother, is dangerous. Because, yeah, it sets the precedent for doing this in the future. But at the same time, one of the reasons why the narrative of the election's over, Biden won, is because every person running against him is saying that. The election's over. Biden won. I think it's curious.
I think they're all just a lazy bunch of punks. And really, I think the Democratic Party is suffering from a similar ailment of the Republican Party in the sense that they don't have a B team or a bench. You know what I'm saying? They've just they're the two parties of boomers. You know, and as much as I think one is more destructive than the other, because at least one on paper and occasionally in voting represents more limited government, okay, I really think that ultimately they both suffer from a problem of not having a B team. You know what I'm saying? They're just running out of people to put forward. I mean, Hillary Clinton was having seizures before they're thrown into her car.
Yeah, allegedly.
And allegedly having seizures. You know, we all just shake and fall into the car for no reason.
Someone brought up a good reference.
And Biden can't finish a sentence. I feel bad for Biden at this point. He needs to be in memory care.
Yeah, well, you know what? You know what it reminds me of? Speaking of, in this chat, it reminds me of Anastasia's dad when the Los Angeles Lakers were stuck with a Dwight Howard was gone. Pau Gasol was gone. They had old-ass Kobe Bryant, old-ass worn-down, crappy Steve Nash, and no real young talent on the roster. And they got to a point where they were just one of the worst teams in the NBA for multiple years.
Yeah.
There's other extenuating circumstances. By the way, someone brought it up. If we can get some Fs in the chat for Kobe Bryant. I know it's a crazy thing. Kobe Bryant died, 4 months ago? It really still just recently
Seems like
happened.
a year ago. Yeah.
And it feels like a million, with all the news. But still, my point being is what we're seeing happen with the Democratic Party is kind of where the Republicans were for 8 years after George W. Bush. They threw up Mitt Romney and John McCain. Republicans hate both those guys now, right? Like that is who ran against Obama both times. No one liked them. They just happened to run. And you see sports franchise at the same point. You have your star. I mean, you can argue what you want about W. For 8 years, he was the president, and he was a focal point of the globe, right? Like, the Republicans had their star player in George W. Bush, but then he retired. 8 years, he was gone. They had, and like you said, they had no young, promising, aspiring picks. It got to the point where Donald Trump walked in as a mercenary free agent and took over the whole party. I mean, they had nobody, and I think the Democrats are finding themselves kind of where the Republicans were after Bush, where now they're finding themselves, like I said, no bench, no promising young talent. They're running the Democrat version of John McCain and Mitt Romney. Two people, two Democrats that everyone's gonna bitch about for a decade. I cannot believe. Oh my God, John McCain was basically ran out of the Republican Party before he passed away. I mean, basically Mitt Romney, speaking of, wasn't invited to CPAC, the big conservative conference this year. Like they're basically were told you're not invited here anymore. And I wonder if we will see a Democratic Party that gets co-opted by some stronger personality, kind of like Trump did with the Republicans, where people will start showing Hillary and Biden, here's the door. Because, I mean, McCain and Romney wasn't quite Secretary of State and VP, but they were really respected longtime politicians before they ran for president. So they ran for president.
Yeah.
But I think it's fascinating, kind of. I think it'll be fascinating, maybe not the campaigns themselves, but just paralleling John McCain and Hillary Clinton and then Mitt Romney and Joe Biden as kind of what, I mean, who knows what the hindsight will be on Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden, but dude, Republicans detest. Republicans are dancing on John McCain's grave to this day. Not every single one, but a lot of them are. A lot of them are like, good, I'm glad. You know what I mean? Like, people hated John McCain, and Mitt Romney doesn't get invited to the cool kids parties anymore. That's where they are, and that's who the Republicans are trying to run for president. I kind of hope Hillary and Biden are there. Now, they're older, so it's easier. Biden probably easier than Hillary to kind of just say, okay, whatever, just kind of fade away. Romney's still hanging around. Romney's passing some bills I don't hate, but I just think it's interesting. You look at what those guys were when they ran. I mean, there's people to this day who probably will shudder to even. There's people that will swear up and down both of them are rhinos, who in 2008 and in 2012 are probably pounding the desk saying you got to go out there and vote for these guys. And I think it's going to be a glimpse. We saw it with Hillary already. We've already seen people who are like, you know what? I supported Hillary in 2016, and like, dude, not anymore. Because really she lost because she was kind of a bad candidate. Like if she was a better candidate, she would have won. But I don't know. I just think it's really kind of went off there. But I think there is some weird parallels. Like you said, it really does feel like a sports franchise that they spent a lot of money to get old and effective, but now they're just old and expensive. And they're not really effective anymore. They're just old and expensive. Joe Biden's campaign's old and expensive. He spends a lot of money flying around buying ice cream and shit. I mean, he's old. There's nothing exciting there. There's nothing new there. There's no hope there. And the problem, too, becomes with sports franchises, it's one thing. It's another sports analogy, but it's one thing when you're one of the bottom 3 or 4 teams in the league, but you're young. And you have young players you drafted high, and you could sell your fan base on, hey, look, guys, I mean, this team's cheap, it's young, we're still finding out what we got, there's hope here. That's way different than being like the 3rd or 4th worst team in the league, and the whole roster is old, expensive, and has no, and then it feels like you're coming to people and saying, no, guys, we could rally behind Joe Biden, right? It kind of reminds me, it's a little bit of an aside, but
good analogy.
There's a famous video. Now, a little bit ironic because Kurt Warner went on to be a borderline Hall of Famer. But Kurt Warner was playing behind, I believe, Trent Green. Could have got it wrong. I think Trent Green's the name of the quarterback. Anyway, quarterback for this football team ruins his leg like the day before the season starts, or the week before the season starts. So the quarterback, Dick Vermeil, I believe it was, he goes up and gives a press conference where he's literally in tears going, we believe in Kurt Warner. Just like, oh my God, our season's ruined. I'm going to get fired. I'm stuck relying on this Kurt Warner backup guy who was a grocery bagger because Trent, and then, he went on to be a Hall of Famer. But I get a lot of vibes from people when they're trying to explain why you should vote for Joe Biden. They feel like Dick Vermeil crying, giving the explanation for how Kurt Warner is going to take this franchise to the next level. Where I look at people telling me I'm Biden, they're like, Jesus, guys, like look in the mirror. It looks like you're terrified of Joe Biden. You're petrified that he has to actually go out there and run. Doesn't look like any of them are confident in Joe Biden. I mean, this is the same vibes I get. Now, again, Kurt Warner went on to win 2 Super Bowls, I think. Went to another couple, or I think he won 1, went to 3. Maybe Hall of Famer, tremendous player. I don't think Joe Biden has that future ahead of him. He's an older player now, but sorry, I went way off. But I just, to your sports analogy sense, I do agree. The Democratic Party right now feels like a franchise that is at the end of a championship run and needs to rebuild. They have to retool.
Yeah.
They have to remake themselves, find a new identity, find something that resonates, find something that's effective, something that works, something they can bring young talent into. Sometimes you do have to do that. Sometimes you can't just insist on going about things a certain way because you're not going to curate young talent that will go about things that way. You're going to have to find what the young talent does. And I don't see any of that in the Democrats. Republicans are in a weird spot too, don't get me wrong. Republicans 4 years from now might be right where they were back in 2008 of like, Jesus, what are we going to do? I'm not saying that they could easily be there because Trump's such a weird anomaly. It's not like Trump is somebody like I don't know, I'm trying to think of a Republican that's come up through the ranks, time in Congress, that's not what Donald Trump was. Donald Trump didn't serve anyone's cabinet. He basically was a Twitter troll and a billionaire celebrity. It's basically what he was when he ran for president. I mean, he wasn't like this thing. So it'd be interesting to see what the future could be. Because think about Democrats even. Think about the Democrats they ran out there for office. Trust me, Democrats would have been just fine if Andrew Yang didn't win. They were fine without him. They tried to shoulder him out every second of every minute. They tried to do everything they could to marginalize Andrew Yang. But you look at the mainstream people who ran. Pete Buttigieg, he got elected, once or twice mayor of a pretty kind of a smaller college town?
Yeah.
Amy Klobuchar, decent office a couple times. Kamala Harris. I mean, none of these people have, kind of came up through the ranks and been curated and developed by anyone. They all just kind of had their little thing they did, and they ran for office on it. And that's why no one resonated. None of them got anywhere. Joe Biden just won by doing... Joe Biden AFK'd his way to victory. It's ridiculous.
What's AFK mean?
Away from keyboard. It's like a gamer term, I guess. The idea being is he didn't do anything. He basically just if you're playing a game, he just sat there and didn't do anything, and everyone else defeated themselves. It's like, well, I guess I won.
So can I ask you a question, Cody?
Sure.
What about Jesse Ventura?
Green Party, the third party is a separate issue.
He's the opposite, dude.
Well, no, but he's
broke as a joke.
I don't think he's...
Compared to Bloomberg, he can't self-finance a campaign.
Bloomberg didn't run independent either.
He has no giant machine coffers behind him like a Republican or a Democrat would. So, I mean, in normal life, in daily life, he's not broke. He's a millionaire. But, I mean, he's broke when it comes to just political machinery behind him, right? So, what do you think about Jesse Ventura?
Interesting. I mean, I love this. I was just watching a clip a few minutes ago where Jesse Ventura was talking about it was Jesse Ventura on The View 15 years ago in the W. Bush administration. I knew it was in the W administration era. They were debating waterboarding on The View and the merits of waterboarding, whether we shouldn't do it. And he just owned them, man. There were some blonde lady was talking about waterboarding, and he's like, if waterboarding is so not a big deal, why don't police do it? It's like, why didn't we waterboard the Oklahoma City bombers? Why do we only waterboard Muslim terrorists if it's fine and we can do it to anyone?
Who said that?
Jesse Ventura. And people on The View were just kind of he's like, I don't get he's like, I'm not saying, he's like, I've been waterboarded. It sucks. I don't think it's a good thing. It's torture. Why do we do it sometimes and not others?
Dude, when was Jesse Ventura waterboarded?
when he was a Navy SEAL.
Oh yeah, during
Part
training.
of his Navy, not Navy SEAL training, but part of the training he went through overall. Yeah, that's the one thing I'll say about Jesse Ventura. We talked about this in the video today. Be careful with him. People are going to try to convince you Jesse Ventura is basically Alex Jones. He's a nutso. He's a psychopath.
Dude,
but keep this in mind. He also ran against the Republicans. He went in the face of the Republicans, in the face of the Democrats, and was elected governor of a state as an independent.
That's pretty tough.
Not only tough. You think they like that? You think the powers that be, so to speak, or just the same establishment that Bernie, Trump, and now Jesse Ventura are calling out all the time as being the crony decision makers? You think they like seeing an independent be elected governor? Now, Ventura's made mistakes in his life that have made it easier for people to clown on him. Don't get me wrong, but I'm telling you, he's not. They'll try to tell you he's some fool, some bumbling moron, some roided up wrestler dude. Jesse Ventura he's an interesting dude. He's a Navy SEAL, an actor, a governor. He's done things in he's lived multiple lifetimes greater than the average person. I think he's a better person, but you see what I mean? Like, most people are a Navy SEAL, and that's like, you know what, man, that encompassed damn near my whole life as being a Navy SEAL, right? That was part of his life. So, interesting dude. He's all I'm trying to get to is he's an eccentric and a unique individual, and someone it's kind of hard to just look at and say don't get me wrong, I'll clown on him for going on Russia Today and biking leathers and talking about the Syrian civil war or whatever. It seems kind of weird to me to do that. But he's more well-spoken than you think, almost always. More thoughtful than you think, almost always. It's just he doesn't do himself any favors. He'll go out there and host a show called Conspiracy Theories and look for Bigfoot and stuff. He'll talk about skinwalkers. He'll talk about all this stuff that's just kind of like, eh. Like I do not think you can be elected president if you have hosted a major TV series talking about the existence of like skinwalkers and stuff. Not because I wouldn't vote for you. I just don't think you'd get enough support. It'd be too easy to make you look like a crazy person, especially because, like I said, he went in the face. And guess what? Guess what he'd be doing if he ran right now? Going in the face of Democrats and Republicans again. The establishment. Okay. The literal 1%. He'd be going in their faces again, and they'd be saying, get out of here. So that's the one thing that's interesting. It's one thing it's unique to see him forced to, again, Russia Today to work with. I saw some people took exception to us calling Russia Today RT, Russian propaganda. But like I said, if the United States government was funding Russian-speaking news in Russia, where we were fundamentally just critical of the Russian government and stuff they did, you could rightfully call that American propaganda. I'm like, yeah, what's the big deal? Countries are allowed to have their interests expressed in other countries. What's the big deal? It's just, once again, you'll
like
notice
Al Jazeera.
It's another thing, though, that people can use to discredit him. Oh, look at him. He's on blah, blah, blah. Again, I didn't bring that up in the first video because I have such a problem with it. I brought it up because it'll be used against him. I mean, it's...
Well, how could it be? To me, that's a soft pitch that's easy to knock out of the park because, for example, Al Gore, didn't he own a controlling stake in Al Jazeera? No, he sold his cable channel to Al Jazeera.
Yeah, but I say no way he had a controlling stake in Al Jazeera.
Because they wanted him to, I know he didn't, not in Al Jazeera, but he sold his channel as part of his media package. He sold it to Al Jazeera because Al Jazeera for a long time had been wanting to get into the American media market. Just like Fiat bought a controlling stake or took over somehow Chrysler because they wanted a way to get into the American market and a way to market their foreign cars, just like Honda markets its foreign cars, just like Aston Martin, just like Jaguar markets its foreign cars in competing with our domestic automotive industry. So for me, it's like, okay, well, there's a Russian television channel that we all know is heavily influenced, okay, by the Russian government. But dude, they offered me a TV show, so I took it. I mean, just like Gervais
there
said,
are people writing articles that are like I mean, this is Donald Trump again, so it's an extreme, but still, dude, I've read articles saying like, and again, it's just one article, but there's people pushing stuff like Donald Trump went on vacation. Like, how about this? People still bring up Bernie Sanders' honeymoon to the Soviet Union 40 years ago or whatever.
Yeah, but that kind of represents more of a strange fetish than just your job as a celebrity.
Why? Me and you both watch Bald and Bankrupt, the YouTuber, and one of the videos we like watching, his shtick is he goes to former Soviet states and we look at him and go, wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't see that dude advocating for it in the United States of America as much as he's fascinated by it.
The current American political media douchebag, this is how it works. You dig into your position and somebody says something.
Those are so different, though.
No, hold on. And all it's about is when you say or do something, your political adversaries will take the most uncharitable, unfair, ridiculous interpretation, assert it as fact, parrot it to their side, and then you'll defend yourself and parrot it to your side, and nobody will actually care about what the other side's saying because that wasn't really the point. That's kind of how it always goes.
No, the point is
my thing is this. People will say, someone will write articles like, Jesse Ventura is Russian. Jesse Ventura, proof that the Green Party are Russian plants to get Trump elected. And here's the thing. Even though you could say, that's obviously fake, that's obviously false, it just serves to reaffirm the beliefs of anyone who already believes that. This content isn't to convince you. It's to reaffirm them.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nothing you could do at a certain point. You're trapped. You're put in these spots where they're going to write these things about you. They're going to say these things about you. And you could try to defend yourself, but you actually can't because they don't want you to defend yourself. You can't defend yourself to them. You can't. I mean, it'd be like Satan explaining his reasoning to me. I would say, nice try, Satan. I'm not listening to your tricks. You know what I mean?
Ooh, you sound like a Christian mommy.
No, but do you see what I mean? From a certain perspective, it's just kind of like everything you say is invalid. You're explaining why you're evil to me? I don't care.
Yeah.
So it's not for you. It's not to change your mind. It's one of the reasons why I love saying this. But seriously, when it comes to political discourse on the internet, tell me what you believe in. Give me 20 minutes and I'll prove you right. Pick a thing. Earth's flat. Paul McCartney died in the 70s. God, what
we
else?
didn't land on the moon.
Didn't land on the moon.
Yeah.
How about
Earth is flat.
The Majora's Mask the haunted Majora's Mask cartridge? Just pick anything on the internet.
Wait, the haunted what?
The haunted Majora's Mask cartridge.
What's a mask cartridge?
It's a story on the internet. Tell you what, look it up. Look up the haunted.
Okay, I'm doing this right now.
Majora's Mask cartridge. See if you find anything. But
that's not the supposedly the facial linen of Jesus Christ, out of that, right?
Not Jesus related.
Okay, the haunting of a Majora's Mask cartridge.
But what I'm trying to say is that it's one of the things about the internet. Is a lot of content exists specifically to reaffirm the beliefs that someone already has.
Wait, is this like a Zelda thing?
It's a creepypasta is what it is.
Okay.
Same thing as asserting skinwalkers are real. Oh my God. Candle Cove. Somebody in chat, please bail me out on this. Is it Candle Cove? Candlelight Cove? Something Cove. That's another great old school creepypasta, but I'll prove it's real, man. I'll prove that it's not just some fake creepypasta. It's real. This stuff legit happened. You are remembering a real old show from the 70s or 80s or whatever. I mean, like, all this stuff, there's something out there to... It's one of the reasons why when you watch horror movies and they'll go on the internet and they'll just, like, Google, like, oh, the demons. It's like, dude, I remember I used to read threads on how to create your own tulpa. Like, trust me, this stuff exists and it's all baloney. Not all baloney. I don't know. I can't say all of it, but most of it's not real. I always find it funny in like horror movies. They'll go online and look at the worst scene in any horror movie of that though. I think it's Insidious and it sucks. I love the actor who does it. Vincent D'Onofrio, I believe they pronounce his name.
Okay.
And they literally just like zoom him in the movie. Like they I think it's like Ethan Hawke zooms him from his house. Like, oh man, this crazy monster, and he's just like sitting there in his office. He's like, yep, you got a demon. It's called the whatever demon. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
But sorry. Anastasia's dad won. Cody. I did. Yes.
Whoa.
I was wearing a mask outside one day, and it was just so annoying having the mask rough up against. I'm like, I can't. I gotta deal with that.
Yeah, Cody, dude. You're looking good today, too. You're ripped, dog. This lighting's make your biceps look all just yoked, man.
See, yeah, Candle Cove is real. I mean, you're looking for Ben Drowned and Candle Cove. Thank you. I used to be a much bigger creepypasta connoisseur back in the day. But yeah, Ben Drowned and Candle Cove. Yeah.
So what was your favorite creepypasta?
My favorite one?
Yeah, what was your favorite one? Are you a Slender Man guy? Are you like
honestly,
Jeff the Killer?
Honestly, I love Ben Drowned. That might be one of the more... That's the Haunted Majora's Mask cartridge. That's one of the more enthralling ones.
So what is it? What's Ben Drowned? Tell me. I don't know that one.
It's the long creepypasta about a kid who bought a Majora's Mask cartridge at a garage sale, but it was haunted, and then in the game, all these creepy haunted things kept happening, and he kept encountering the statue of Link in the game, and it had these signs. Like, look it up. It's fast. That one, and then also there's the classic creepypasta of... Anyone want to know what creepypastas are? Just the words they use. It's what we call now campfire stories, I guess. There's ghost stories. You used to be able to go on websites. You probably still can, but it used to be really big. And where it came from is where creepypasta, I believe, comes from is the idea of on forums and stuff back in the day, people would come up. Today, probably one of the most famous copypastas today is the Navy SEAL. Like, oh, all of you know I was a Navy SEAL with 25 confirmed kills or whatever. You'll see that. And the idea is it's just a whole block of text, copy and pasted, that you'll put into threads and you'll, oh my God, there's the one of the most famous early copy. You could probably still Google straight cash copy pasta and find it. But anyway, creepypastas then just became these. It's funny. It was kind of the modern way of sharing a ghost story. Instead of me telling you a ghost story. But what was interesting is because the way the creepypasta format was set up, it was less like, there's less of that telephone aspect to a series of people telling ghost stories and having it shift. Somebody sends me the ghost story and I copy the thing in its entirety and I can repaste it or paste it or whatever. Anyway, it's a very long etymology of a creepypasta is in reference to, but long way of saying one of the things about the internet and the way a lot of content is produced is specifically for confirmation bias, specifically to take to a certain crowd and say, look at this thing. How right am I? How right are we? As a matter of fact,
That's true.
That's most of the stuff out there. It's one of the reasons why you have to find a way to just operate outside of it. If you try to operate inside of that game, you'll lose. Because all you could do is pander to your side. That's the way that game works. Pandering to your side. There's no coming together. There is no middle. You have to find another way around it. My opinion, at least.
All right, rock on. I'm feeling you. So, can you just give me the summary of Majora's Mask?
Dude, it's been a long time since like I said, a guy buys a haunted video game cartridge, and as he's playing the game, bad stuff happens.
It's a story. It's not like a short film, right?
No, it's a story. If you want to talk about a short film,
I looked it up, and it was just this huge long post that was like 8 pages long. So do I have to read it?
No, dude, it just gets beamed into your brain if you look at it long enough. Yes, you have to read it.
What's up with reading? Aren't we in a post?
You have to read it.
I thought podcast.
That's the reference. That's why it's called a copypasta, because it's a creepypasta. Because it's a creepy story that you copy and paste in its entirety. The idea being, it's one of the things out there on the internet. There's a lot of great ones out there that do all. But I remember being on threads back in the day reading about how to create your own, how to summon a djinn and how to create your own tulpa and all this weird stuff. People are always talking about this stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Last thing I want to get to. Now, if you want to get into a visual form of what you might consider a creepypasta, you brought up Slender Man.
Yeah.
Let's give a little bit of a shout out here. Shout out. This is a way more popular than anything I'll ever do, probably. But back when Slender Man was first becoming an interesting thing, there was these, I think young kids had put together a very long YouTube series. I think it ran 50 videos called Marble Hornets. And it was released in tiny little clips, minutes, maybe a few minutes long each, and it basically was a Slender Man found footage film. I got lost watching Marble Hornets probably 8 years ago for a weekend, where I just watched it was hours because they went on for years. They kept doing stuff years and years and years, and I watched it for years.
Check this out.
It was very cool. It's one of the things I like about the internet doing creepy stories and stuff. It was very cool because the way creepy stories evolved on the internet, man, there's so much stuff where it's there's individual pictures that get just spread around with different stories in the background. Reading creepypasta, there's the creepypasta of the guy who finds the pictures, and the pictures shows people raising up certain amounts of fingers. I don't know. It's not. Anyway. I think there is Ben Drowned. What made that one very cool, I guess. Yeah, that was one of those mixed medium ones, right? Where they had some video clips you could watch, or people recording the game. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff like that. It really became its own thing. I guess to get back to what we're talking about, finding a way to go viral with I think Michael Bloomberg should have spent $400 million on some kind of AR campaign, some kind of viral secret campaign thing.
Yeah.
To get people, because just saying I'm Bloomberg and I'm running did not get it. If he had some kind of Pivot guy says, Jesus, Cody, did you and I watch them videos? Probably, dude. I mean, I was just on the internet for the last 15 years watching all the spooky stuff, dude. There's so much good. I was talking with my friend the other day, actually. I think I saw a tweet that said something to the effect of like, oh yes, to be back in 2013, typing in real ghost videos on YouTube. Because dude, back in the day, that was like what YouTube was big, real videos of ghosts. And I remember all the old, oh my god, I remember there's a famous old video of like the King George ghost closing the door outside. There's the famous videos. There was the famous, and then you get into the stuff that was really well put together. I guess you would call short films that just started getting passed around as real things in other countries mostly. Yeah. Like there's the famous one with the English, it's English kids, younger English guys driving on like a backcountry road.
Yeah, and they pick see up the a hitchhiker. Standing
they pick up a hitchhiking girl and the girl's with them in the car and they keep trying to drive away and it's like they keep getting, that got passed around as real. For like, my favorite of all of these.
Wait, they keep getting what? What happened to them?
They can't leave. It's like they're trying to drive in the woods and they keep coming back to the same place over and over again. Then eventually the girl like teleports outside of the car and kills them or whatever. Some goofy stuff. There's that one. There's the one that's my favorite of all of these. There's a electronic music producer, goes by Aphex Twin. He made a music video for a song he did called Rubber Johnny. And the music video for Rubber Johnny is weird, man. There is like this alien looking dude and he's doing all this crazy stuff. However, it was such a weird, kind of gritty looking footage. For years at the beginning of the internet, when these kind of like videos started getting popular, so many people tried to pass off this music video footage, like real video footage of aliens. And it's like, I get Aphex Twin's not some like household name, but he's not like a nobody. In the electronic music scene, he's kind of popular. There's a music video he did. And there's people for years, man, telling you that was real footage of aliens caught like in Roswell or some stuff. I mean, it really was the wild, but I think that's another reason why too, it's so much easier for me to read and see a lot of the stuff on the internet and just write it off as obviously fake baloney, because I've been bombarded with obviously fake baloney in my whole life. I've seen all of it. I've seen so much obvious fakes, things that obviously aren't real, or you're being misled, they're lying to you, they're only showing you one angle, they're cutting off the beginning. I've seen so much of stuff. I see anything now, I'm just like, it's probably fake. Yeah. Well, one of my favorite words is unbelievable, because 95% of the time my instinct is to go, wow, unbelievable. Yeah, it is truly beyond belief that thing really did happen.
Dude, this is a crazy music video, dog. I'm watching this right now. This is like weird. It's like laser blasts getting shot at a dude that looks like a mixture of a real life version of Megamind and the aliens that invaded in Mars Attacks.
Oh, yeah. People for years, I'm not even kidding you, for literally years, I would see videos on YouTube talking about how that's real footage of aliens. And I'm like, no, that's the Rubber Johnny Aphex Twin video. I know that. I've seen this.
Okay.
Why are you trying to lie to me still?
Okay.
Somebody said, what about the creepypasta where there's a guy in the tunnel? Probably read it. Yeah, more specific. I've read most of the big ones. I used to read them for fun. And now what I do, though, is now I'll watch. Creepypastas kind of found new life in YouTube.
Yeah.
Dude, there is an entire genre of YouTube videos that, and this is what I love, is storytelling nowadays has gotten so weird and meta. They're all, I believe, to be fake. They're fake. People write about fake, creepy Craigslist encounters.
Yeah.
And then people will take like 15 of those from like a Reddit thread or something, and they'll just read them in a YouTube video. And apparently, if you ever go to buy anything on Craigslist, they're going to kidnap you no matter what. No matter what. So it doesn't matter what. But that was like for a while a burgeoning genre of people writing what I think are fake. I mean, a lot of them sound over the top insane. Craigslist horror stories, and then those get passed around, and then like any horror, like any myth, right? One or two of those will have something to them, and people kind of go like, "That's actually kind of creepy," and they'll get twisted and moved and morphed, and they'll keep resurfacing over and over. I mean, how many times have I read or heard the story about the girl who goes to look into a room to rent on Craigslist, and she gets a bad vibe, and she leaves at the last second, and they find out 2 weeks later people are kidnapped, and like stuff like that all the time, and that story gets shared over and over, and then I don't know, it's funny, they get passed around the internet, morphed, and then eventually some dude at some independent Hollywood studios like, well, I'll make a movie out of this. Slender Man, they make a movie out of it. Now Slender Man, unfortunately, I think in production there was the Slender Man attempted murder that happened in real life.
Ooh, rough.
You hear about that?
I do.
Yeah, like 13-year-old girls, they tried to kill another one of their friends. Anyway, that kind of like, and they pulled the plug on that one. But there's been a couple other movies that came out that were like, I'm like, hey, that's just like an internet urban legend. That's just a movie now? Like, what? The thing is, what's interesting is because of the internet style of mass collaboration, you could say, like, yeah, who owns this? Who really owns the Slender Man mythos?
Well, first off, there's always somebody when it gets popular, it's going to come forward. Like, for example, do you remember Pepe the Frog and the whole controversy behind the original cartoonist that did Pepe the Frog?
Well, what do you mean?
So, there's a million internet iterations of Pepe the Frog that you see online, right?
By the way, originally, it was just the Feels Good Man. That was it. Just feels good, man. That was,
from what? From what cartoon?
I forgot. It was why do you pee standing up? And he says, "Feels good, man."
Yeah, or something like that. It's really weird. It was an innocuous, completely non-political, almost like a stoner comedy comic strip or something. I don't remember exactly how you described it. I remember I read like the first 10 bars of it, but has nothing to do with politics. But that whole "feels good, man" meme just became its own little sensation a decade ago or whenever it was.
Then it became "feels bad, man."
Yeah, and then it became "feels bad," and then all of a sudden it became the green guy. Then it got picked up by this group. Then it became the blue guy. Then now it's just an everything dude. And the original artist of the original comic book strip actually tried to fight the legal fight of getting it back, Cody. And he was able to.
I can't.
Okay, no, he can't stop others from making... It's really interesting. Like, they can't prove they make money off of the image unless it's under specific fair use.
That's what I mean. But I mean, it's like a lot of these things aren't for like money making purposes.
So you can't stop somebody from making a social media post,
and then you're able to just kind of grab. I mean, like Slender Man might have been one of the more transparent. Like, we are gonna make a movie about an internet meme. At the minute that some Hollywood studio basically said. This, which I guess they did like Ouija and stuff. They've been doing a lot of those, but.
So is Creepypasta.com actually the originator of the whole Creepypastas? No. Or was it just that somebody bought a Creepypasta.com?
That's one of the many. Like many things, I don't think there was like any originating location. Just there were these stories that you would see on. This is kind of before social media. Maybe MySpace was around, but it was stories you would see. I mean, oh my God, speaking of, who remembers MySpace bulletin chains? Where they'd be like, you'd read a bulletin on MySpace and it would be like, oh, this spirit's going to kill your family unless you share this bulletin with the 9 people you're most friends with or whatever. There used to be all kinds of stuff like that on MySpace. But it just the idea of like colloquially what they're called creepypastas are just these stories that would get copy and pasted and shared all over the internet. Like I said, you can look up the Navy SEAL copy pasta. You can look up the straight cash copy pasta. You could look up one of my favorite is the one where somebody walks up to a celebrity and says, "Hey, I'm a really big fan of yours, but I didn't want to be one of those people that comes up and bothers you." And they're like, "Oh, you mean like you're doing right now?" That's a famous one. They'll just swap out the names of what celebrities being rude to somebody saying. I mean, these all exist. Yeah. It was just, I don't know. It's interesting to me the way they're kind of these collaborative things that take on lives of their own and keep growing and changing and growing and changing and changing and adding. And I mean, Skinwalker, the Skinwalker phenomenon. I guess that's another thing that kind of got lifted straight from internet. That was just internet stories people talk about, the Skinwalkers and just ghost stories. But now instead of campfires, we tell ghost stories on the internet.
Yeah, I think it's cool. It's like the birth of the short story again. And that's why I'm really hoping that this Quibi, what's it called?
Quibi.
Oh, wait, no, I had a friend whose last name was Quibi. So it's Quibi. You're right. I can't mistake Quibi with Quibi. I'm actually really excited to see if these Quibis take off because really post, I don't know, maybe the 1940s.
But couldn't you say Quibi is just a YouTube video?
Yeah, but it's not...
Like, why isn't a Quibi just a web series? Like the thing I told you about Marble Hornets? Yeah, it's a bunch of like 2 to 3 minute episodes. How is that not Quibi?
Oh, well, here's the deal. Because in the heyday of the short story, there were periodicals that venerated it. And there would be all of these different magazines that would be like, this month, here's the Sci-Fi Digest, or else this month here's short stories and there's poetry. And it was a way that artists could get their literature and their poetry out. And it had a much more positive impact than the chaotic nature of just YouTube. Okay. And it was also a way to sanction new up-and-coming artists. Like, okay, this is our best. No, what are you saying? No.
This is literally. What,
you're going to call it gatekeeping?
It's literally what it is, yeah.
Yeah, no, but you yourself has said there has to be some gatekeeping so we don't breed a bunch of idiots. You've said this about politics all the time. You said, I want the...
Not entertainment media. Any moron can put any... You know what one of my favorite movies is that I love to watch to this day? I'll defend anyone who likes to watch this movie. You ever heard of the movie Freddy Got Fingered with Tom Green?
Yeah.
He had every right to release that film. Gatekeeping, stuff you talk about would have said, this is nonsense, this is crap. Do not ever let anyone see this.
No.
Which, by the way,
I
will point out, I do not think you could buy this movie on Blu-ray.
You're thinking
it's something they don't want people to see.
No. You're thinking gatekeeping that also involves censorship of distribution. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that anybody should be able to say, hey, something that wasn't made within our system needs to get
I'm
censored.
not saying this. What I'm saying is,
let me finish.
Okay, but you're talking about a system where they decide they curate the content.
Since the death of the major periodicals, that published large amounts of short stories and analyze them in a way that Roger and Ebert used to analyze movies, Since the death of those periodicals and the ethos of that time, we have also seen the death of large-scale poetry consumption and analysis and short story consumption and analysis.
No, we haven't.
What do you mean, no, we haven't? Yes, we have.
No, we haven't.
Outside of the university and outside of like English majors,
I'm sorry that they have to compete with other mediums.
What's the last poem you read?
I don't read any poems ever. Guess what? I wouldn't have 100 years ago either. But guess what? There's people to this day who write poetry, get awards for poetry, publish poetry.
I know, and no,
there's poetry websites.
They don't contain a big chunk of the mainstream like they used to. And I'm hoping if we bring... What do you mean like when...
What, Victorian England? What are you talking about?
Yes, all the way up until I'd say the 40s or 50s.
Guess what?
The average American all the way up until the 60s could name our poet laureate.
Also, though, get this. We were talking about this before. If you listen to music... I was playing a video game, Fallout 76. Only reason why I bring it up, they curate music from most of the 30s, 40s, and 50s. You listen to some old 30s songs, and it's like, obviously music, but unrecognizable as pop music. You listen to music from like the 50s, 60s, and it's kind of like a little hokey and dated, but this is what pop music sounds like. Yeah. You listen to like some like Andrew's Sister songs, you're like, what is this? This was like what music was popular in the 30s. Just because we've shifted our tastes a bit and there's more to compete with doesn't mean that poetry's dead. And it also doesn't mean the things we got from poetry and the reason why people wrote poetry is now just erased. It's been folded into other things. Some people that would have wrote poetry, maybe now they write TV shows. I mean, now they write movies. Maybe now they write for social media. Okay, but what's the problem with art forms evolving and changing?
Okay,
Why don't we paint like the Byzantines anymore? With the flat, wafer-thin characters with the halos around them. What's wrong with that? What happened to the good old days of great Byzantine frescoes?
Okay. So let's bring the frescoes back. I'm down with that, dog.
What I'm saying is maybe we just simply changed our tastes and we do something different.
Okay, I didn't say this is an apocalypse of art here, but I did say that I miss that aspect. And there's some things I don't miss that I don't want to bring back. For example, bell bottoms. Okay? But there's some things I do like that I do want to bring back. And I think one of them is the short story. And I'm hoping Quibi does that.
That's not what they're doing. Have you seen any Quibi stuff?
I'm hoping.
I saw one Quibi thing. It was about a girl who. It's literally a skit.
Did you see the one about the Mexican cartel guy who has the people?
I saw the one about the girl who had to have she had a fake hand and it was like rejecting her body and killing her. Literally a skit from Arrested Development, and she like refused to have it removed. Yeah. Like, all you have to do is get rid of it and you won't die. And she's like, no. I forgot. It was satirical, but I remember just watching it out of context and being like, wow, man. Because I'll admit, I'm not a biggest fan of TV, but I have no problem with watching a 50-minute or 47-minute long episode of a show like Justified. I have no problem watching 55 minutes of The Wire. I have no problem with watching 55 minutes of The Sopranos. I don't need things always in short 10-minute bites. I can go on YouTube and find that. I can go on YouTube and find these short, 10, 15-minute things. I don't need an app. Also, you had to watch it on the app, which was dumb.
Okay. So, I'm down with Quibi because it's hopefully going to be not just giving existing stars another venue to, perform and so on and so forth, but hopefully we'll be birthing the careers of newer stars and be like a minor league.
Wait, I have a question for you. No.
Yeah, what?
What is TikTok? Is TikTok not where these poets you speak of are perhaps
I like
now working?
I like TikTok a lot because there's a lot of, I mean, I've seen some really funny and really creative kids on TikTok. And if I were a Nickelodeon producer, a Disney producer, a Warner Brothers producer, actually, I got to be honest with you, even somebody that wanted to make something cool, like a new version of Stranger Things or something like that, I would be gleaning some serious talent from TikTok. Because there are some funny AF kids on TikTok that with an iPhone are making me laugh harder than half of these boneheads that have a $4 million an episode TV show on Cartoon Network or on, I don't know, some TV channel.
But honestly, keep this in mind too.
Yeah.
Just because you could be funny and really good in 47 seconds or whatever a TikTok is, does not mean you can carry a TV show. And they have tried taking YouTubers and moving them off YouTube to longer format. And it never works. Literally never works. People like watching YouTubers on YouTube. They're going to like watching TikTokers. That's not true that it never
works.
Who's transferred from YouTube off YouTube to mainstream TV and done well?
Logan Paul.
What does he do on TV?
Well, I don't know. I just know that he's gotten some TV gigs.
No, Logan Paul, the Paul brothers' best stuff's all
I can't stand the brothers.
They've done in-house. It's not stuff they've done through television networks. Maybe through creator networks and but not through TV networks.
Well, Justin Bieber was a YouTube sensation before he became
he wasn't a YouTuber. It was just people were posting videos of him to the internet. You know what I mean? It wasn't like Justin Bieber was filming. He wasn't vlogging his career. You know, like people were just. I think it was like Usher found him.
So are you saying
the
there's no hope for
viral.
us getting a show with a major network, bro?
Well, there isn't. But at the same time, we shouldn't want a show with a major network. I'm just saying it's a failure because they're different formats. I mean, it would be like trying to take someone off radio and just put them on late night. They'd be like, you talk. What's the difference? And they're like, I don't normally have commercial breaks like this. I don't normally have to dress up. I don't normally have guests like this. Like, what do you mean I just talk? What's the difference? Like, it's completely different formats, completely different everything. And that's same thing with YouTube to TV. Yeah. You could say, what's the difference? You're on camera. It's like, I guess, but this is not how I would do things on YouTube. Yeah. It's why YouTube Red and YouTube whatever's been so difficult for them is because you can't just take a YouTuber and make them somebody who produces a 30-minute TV show. You can't. It doesn't work. That's not why people watch them. I think a great example of that, and someone who's kind of held off against this, he made a movie, but you look at what's his name, James Rolfe over there at Cinemassacre, this angry video game nerd and stuff. Yeah. He never, maybe he tried, but like, I don't remember seeing angry video game nerd on TV stations. Maybe he made it on TV stations through game trailers. Point being is the people that realize their lane stay in it. Same thing. You'll notice a lot of these late night people they're moving over to YouTube and stuff now, but like that's not where they're from either. They do poorly. A lot of these like live streams and stuff, it's being poorly received because these people, they work when they have makeup, lighting, camera, directors, producers, writers, staff. They work with all of that. Whereas most independent content creators on YouTube work without any of that. And when you give it to them, it overwhelms them and they overwrite and it comes out like garbage. And then when you strip it away from the late night people, they come across as these kind of just shallow morons because they don't really, they lost all the tools they use.
So Sly Cactus says, I'd love to watch cable news if it had Philip DeFranco. You know,
Philip DeFranco would be...
how has he not gotten picked up?
Because, again, he's a YouTuber. He's not a TV anchor. It's just...
Interesting. Okay.
Like Ryan Seacrest. With all the talents in the world Ryan Seacrest have, could you ever imagine him like being like a YouTuber?
Well, a radio host is the closest thing I can think of to a YouTuber.
Yeah, but Ryan Seacrest is even radio host is kind of like... disparaging to Seacrest now, but I mean Seacrest everything. He's like
he started out in radio. And
but like today he's just like I'm pretty sure he hosts multiple TV shows, right, and multiple radio programs, and like he's everywhere. But even then, I don't know if he'd work if you gave him a Twitch stream.
Interesting.
You see what I mean?
I don't know. I could see Ryan Seacrest pulling it off, but I think the average person in his shoes couldn't.
Yeah, but I'm saying you take him. He's like the extreme because like Ryan Seacrest literally does everything. I mean he's like Mr. Camera in front of camera with microphone man. Like he'll do any, and even him, it's just like not his format. At the same time, you take somebody like a PewDiePie, I don't think you can give PewDiePie a TV show and have him just do it the same either. No. I remember when all these people tried to make TV shows during YouTube Red. They all tried, none of them took off.
Okay.
They all tried season 1, episode 2, 27 minutes long. They've all tried these. Who was it? I think was it PewDiePie who had like the real life scary. None of them take off because like people are like we watch YouTube videos here. We don't watch TV shows.
Yeah.
Even then, you know how TV shows have success on YouTube?
How?
In 4 to 5 minute clips. One of the more successful, I would say, YouTube channels for a TV show is the Kitchen Nightmares YouTube channel and the Kitchen Nightmares YouTube channel community and the memes and the all of it. It's a really well put together thing. If any of you guys like Gordon Ramsay or if you're just bored, check out the Kitchen Nightmares YouTube channel. It's awesome. Tons of videos. They're short. They're 4 minutes long. They're 5 minutes long. You get a gist of what's going on. And that works on YouTube. You obviously couldn't just broadcast out of context 5 and 6 minute clips on TV. It wouldn't work there, but it works great in YouTube. Also, I think part of it is having the title and the packaging of a YouTube video is different than the packaging of a TV show. It helps.
Yeah, I see. Rock on, man. Anyway, we got some last questions here because we're gonna have to turn the air conditioning back on. For example, it's getting freaking hot in here in Southern California. The glories of old sound stages. So anyway, I agree with you that by and large, the Peter principle kicks in, that people excel in mediums to a certain point, and that strength doesn't necessarily carry over to other art forms. However, often it does. Perfect example, my friend, is Orson Welles. Orson Welles started out in radio and then did theater, okay, and then ended up in movies for what we know him for. But it used to be that radio was the minor leagues. Now, with the absence of radio in our pop culture, I'm hoping
Orson Welles.
Orson Welles.
Orson Welles is like when people look at Tom Brady, say, well, Tom Brady was a 6th round pick. He was drafted 150th. He's Tom Brady. It's Orson Welles. He's one of the greatest entertainers in like the last 200 years. He's famed for everything he did. Like, yeah, dude, it works when you're Orson Welles. It works when you're probably one of the greatest people to ever do the thing you did.
Yeah, except for that one weird...
It works for him, but I'm just saying, like, sometimes some people are just unique, special individuals capable of things that it's not even worth comparing.
Yeah, well, also, are we going to buy that 16mm print of that strange Christian film he did? I sent you that eBay pic, you remember?
I didn't see it. Maybe, sure. I'm just saying that it's just like, it's like people will do the same thing in sports. They'll pick a certain player and say, well, that player used to do this. It's like, they're one of the greatest who ever lived. Like, I don't care what they did. They're greatness. Like, it's what they're able to do is separate. Like, Orson Welles, seriously. I mean, Orson Welles, how old was he when he started and directed Citizen Kane, which is just like considered like, well, that was when we decided movies are going to look like this forever. I mean, like... Yeah. Orson Welles is behind the famed speaking of radio, the famous
War of the
Worlds broadcast. I mean, so much stuff that guy did, and then he ended up with the legendary drunk champagne commercial. But it just, I don't know. I just feel like
Can we show that as we exit?
Probably not. No,
we can't. No, but who owns the copyright?
I have no idea, but someone will. We have to. We'll have to do a Twitch stream one day and go through a bunch of funny clips on Twitch.
Okay, cool.
But I'm just saying that like there's some characters that are just so like Ryan Seacrest, for example, is why I brought him up. It's like Ryan Seacrest is not a radio host. He's transcended that. He's like last 50 years of radio, one of the top personalities. Yeah, I know. but it's just interesting, It's like some characters are so unique. It's kind of like, can't really compare what they did with what other people do. I mean, it's I'm blanking on it, but it's kind of like when James Cameron refused to sell the script of Terminator to anyone who wouldn't let him make the movie. It's like when you're James Cameron, I guess you could do that. You know what I mean? Like anyone else, like no. Like, they're not going to let you get away with that. It's not just going to work out for anyone else, but it's what happens.
Okay, so now that we're perspiring, both of us, we're going to finish this off. I'll read a couple of these comments as we exit the chat here. Anastasia's dad says, The Rock played in the NFL, WWF Championship, and is a huge movie star. That's another person that started out in the minor leagues, okay, and then made his way up to the majors. Then Andrew Yang for Prez says his greatest role equals Unicron in the original Transformers, the movie.
Orson Welles is one. I believe not only greatest role, I believe that would be literally his last role. I think that was the last thing he did. I could be wrong, but I think the last thing the great Orson Welles ever did in his entire life was voice Unicron as a drunken mess. Like he did most things with the end of his life.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff.
And Mind of Mondo asks, what mics do you guys use? Gosh, we've got 3 of them, and it's been so long since I bought them. I know they're the Electro Voice. I think it's the RE320s.
Yep.
Hold on.
It's an Electro Voice RE320.
Yes, it's the Electro Voice RE320. It's actually, the reason why I got this one is because it's the exact same casing and body as the ever famous Electro Voice RE300 or whatever, but all of those are all this ugly beige from the 80s, and I didn't like the ugly beige, so I decided that we would end up buying the black ones, which are actually meant to be bass drums, or for bass drums if you're recording the bass drum in a band. But they sounded so good, we decided to use these ones. And then now I think we set a trend because I've seen at least 10 other podcasters with these. So
yeah, it was us. We set the trend.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was.
We're the first people who are like, I want the good EV mics, but they're too expensive. We're the first people who are ever like, I guess I'll compromise on the second one.
Okay, Sly Cactus, thanks for the super chat, brother. Says, Dear Cody the Oracle and Cardin the Ellis, loving these convos. Take my money, love your favorite cactus. Thank you, Sly Cactus. You're awesome. And so, yeah, guys, this has been great. This is awesome. Thank you very much for your contributions to the channel. Thank you very much for hanging out with us. If you can, try and make sure that you guys smash that like button before you guys leave. It helps us out a little bit. This is Problem Solver Politics. We will see you guys in the next video.